Hello, friends on YouTube. Hello, friends on IGTV. Welcome to today's live studio stream. My name's Rachel. My YouTube channel is La Bricoleuse. And today, for the live studio stream, I'm going to share an unboxing of only a portion of a recent millinery materials donation that I've received. So, hang on. I need to drink some water first so my scratchy throat doesn't impede my ability to talk to you all. All right. Welcome to Thursday studio stream. And over here, just outside of the view of the camera, is a box and a bag from a recent donation that I received. I guess it was a few days ago, I got an email at my work account about a millinery, a collection of the contents of a milliner's studio that this woman, a colleague here in town who is a costumer at another local university, okay, I'll just say it, Duke University. The rivalry between Duke and my university, UNC, is legendary, and so I don't really have a strong fealty to that rivalry, but so many of my colleagues and the student body and donors for our theater and stuff do feel very strongly, and some of them are very anti-Duke. So I try to just sort of fly under the radar of that. But I do have to give credit, I guess, to my colleague at Duke who contacted me about this donation. And so I have here to unbox today in this studio stream one box and one bag. And that is only a fraction of the total of the donation that I received the other day. I believe it is 5 total boxes and 3 additional bags. And that is after I consolidated the bags into more manageable containers, I guess. It's a lot of stuff. Like, that's what I have to say. It's a lot of stuff. And so let's start then with the bag that's on top of the box here next to me. And you'll see better on YouTube than you can on IGTV, where it's just like a little window that you're peering in. So I have to apologize to you who are watching on IGTV that much of this donation is too large to really feature in that view screen. And if you can watch on both platforms, you'll see better on IGTV, even though it seems like the chat goes better on, or you'll see better on YouTube, even though it seems like the chat tends to roll a little better on IGTV. But it's clear to those of you who can see the whole bag here what this bag is. It's a dry cleaning bag that is full of what seem to be Capeline hat bodies, cartwheels, full-size brimmed hat bodies. So I'm gonna take this, it's a big pile. Take this out of the bag and we'll go through them. There we have it. Oh wow, I already, over here, the top one, you can probably see it if I get it up close to the camera. There's a label on it. This one that says body made in the Czech Republic, which a lot of very high quality felt hat bodies are made in the Czech Republic, or were. Some of these feel like they could be quite vintage. And let's start, I guess, with this one on top, which actually feels like it has some sizing in it already. Because this came from the studio of a working milliner, I know from going through one box already before the studio stream that there are, in that box were a couple of hat bodies that had already been blocked and sizing had been applied to them. One was a freeform hat, and the other had been blocked on a little sort of like 1940s tilt hat block that had some interesting topography to it. And so like when I feel this and I say I can, it feels like there's already stiffener in it, that's possible. It's not super stiff, like this one hasn't been blocked, but it feels like it is black. It is, oh, interesting. Can you see that? It's dark black on the outside and light gray on the inside. It's a two-tone body. Wow, that's really exciting. So that's number one. Then we have these animal print hat bodies were really popular a few years ago, and you can still buy them at millinery supply companies like hatsupply.com and Judith M. Millinery, I believe, both have still a few animal hat bodies. But so you can see I have a tiger one here. I've never seen that. I mean, I've seen pictures of it, but I've never seen one in person, this tiger body. And I have seen this sort of giraffe pattern before. These feel very soft. Like there's definitely some fur content in these. Hey, welcome. There's more folks joining us on IGTV. Hello. Oh, I have to wave with my left hand because the way I've positioned my IGTV camera I'm sort of halfway through the window, but you can see better what I'm pulling out of these boxes, or box and bag, I guess. But so I have a giraffe hat body, a tiger hat body, and another giraffe. So that's two giraffes. Feels like fur felt content in this. It's very, very soft. Softer than just plain a wool body, because I have a wool sensitivity. It's not a bad allergy. Like I don't break out in hives, but I definitely can feel it in my skin when I'm touching a 100% wool hat body, and it feels different from when I'm touching a fur felt body. And these three animal print bodies feel like they have some fur felt content. And I'm going to stack these back up the way that they are. Uh-oh. My IGTV has cut out. It's coming back, maybe. Doesn't matter. We have the two-tone body. I'm putting these inside of it because this sort of stack is the most space-efficient way to have these things stored. And they're going to eventually go into stock at UNC-Chapel Hill. For my millinery students and also for use in PlayMakers Repertory Company productions when we restart post-pandemic. The theater has a season coming, we hope. Oh man, my video has bailed on IGTV. Well, hopefully those folks will join us here on YouTube. And the next one that I have is super exciting. I don't know if you can see this. See that shaggy pile to it? It's really, and it's on the inside too. It's a double-sided melasine, which I've never seen one of those in person. Like I've read about them. And I have several melasine hat bodies in stock at work, but they're all one-sided. The fur is on the outside of the body, and the inside is smooth like a standard hat body. This also has a label inside that says it's made in the Czech Republic. And I'm going to put this one aside into a different pile because, first of all, it's a lighter weight color, and I'm a little paranoid about color bleeding from dye lot to dye lot. And I also think I have some other melasines in this pile that I'll want to put with it. But this next hat body is a velour capeline that is longer. The width of the brim is deeper than the other hat bodies here. It's about an inch wider than the others. And it's such a lovely shade of chestnut, right? I'm going to put that under my, oh, and you can see here, you see these other hat bodies are about an inch shorter all the way around of the brim than this velour one that I've just taken out of the pile. And then I have another slightly lighter, more of a, oh, I don't know what I would call this color of brown. It feels like none of these have any content printed or on the stickers that are in them, but this one feels a little bit like a beaver body that I had one. Hey Kim has shown up on YouTube. I've never seen a double-sided melusine like that either, but I will say I have seen hats in the stock at PlayMakers that are made from double-sided melusine bodies. And the most recent one that I saw was judging by the style, it was like late 1940s, early 1950s. It had a brim to it, and it was a white, well, off-white, like a sort of a winter white melusine with a pheasant feather swirled as the hat band. And we actually used that in a show at one point. But when I saw it, and I saw that both sides of the brim had that melusine fur pile on it, I knew that this kind of body existed at one point in time, but I'd never seen one that I could buy. I'd never just seen one that I couldn't afford, So it's great to see one now, and see what it's like. And I'll tell you, because you're probably curious, the interior of the crown does not have the melusine pile on it. The fur pile on the underbrim stops about an inch up into this head size divot. So so that finish is not, it's not fully double-sided. The interior of the crown would be smooth against your hair or your scalp if you're bald, I suppose. But moving on, see, I feel like I should maybe stack these by brim width. I don't know. Oh, another double-sided melusine. Actually, so I have, can you see these together? They're two shades of gray, and this one actually almost looks white on YouTube. It's crazy. This one is definitely gray. They're both the double-sided melusine where the pile stops in the interior of the crown. Oh, they feel so nice. I don't know what, the only time that I've had a chance to use one of these, which was a single-sided melusine, was for a hat in a Shakespeare show years and years and years ago. And that one, I had bought the melusine at a liquidation sale in the garment district, when a millinery supply company went out of business and they try to sell everything off. And, I had bought it with no purpose in mind. It was just a sort of a chocolatey brown, except it was more kind of like a cat. Like it wasn't uniformly brown. It had variegation to the fur. And I was like, I'm going to buy this because it looks like a pelt, and theatrically speaking, that could be useful. And sure enough, it was. So we have two more in this stack of bodies. I'm to the end of it. I'm to the end of the pile. And we have two more of these large brimmed velour hat bodies, similar to, well, let me check. Let me see if they're similar in, nope. This brown one, this velour hat body, the brown one, has the biggest brim of any of the ones. So it's about half an inch wider than these two gray velour bodies, and then much wide, like an inch wider than all the rest of this pile. So if nothing else, it has been useful for me to go through this and see that this is a bag of all of these wool capulines. Great. And that they're all colors that we can use in a theatrical circumstance. There's another whole box of bodies, or bag of bodies that are more, like, I don't even want to say trendy, but they're bolder colors. They're more unusual colors, like orange and yellow. And they're not all felt, they're actually mostly straw. But those are bodies that, from a theatrical milliner's perspective, I'm and my students, we are far less likely to use those for stage projects other than a highly stylized show with a very specific color palette. And then your designer is often buying within that color palette because it is so specific. And I do have to be fair, I do have the capability of dyeing hat bodies at PlayMakers, but it's a calculus of the value of the space that it takes to store the things versus the money that you'd save if you eventually needed it. And these hat bodies are all extremely unusual in either the finish, like the melusine or the printed animal prints, or the content, like the ones that I can tell are high fur content. So I know that it would be hard to source them, that there are things that we will use them. Whereas like a wide brimmed bright orange capeline in a novelty straw is something that we would be less likely to use. But that's a whole nother bag that I didn't even bring up here because I have a limited amount of space here in the studio and a limited amount of time in this stream. So a reminder that my stream duration has changed to 45 minutes because of the way that my schedule tends to shake up in the summers. And in fact, I do have another appointment what would be directly after this stream, except I now have a 15-minute interval with a milliner in several milliners. We're trying to get together a group of, I'm opening this box while I'm talking, trying to get together a group of YouTube milliners across the globe to come up with some cross-promotional strategies and some challenges that we can just support each other. Oh wow, there's a bag in this box, and it's another bag of hat bodies, but these are cones and flares. They're all felt as well. All right. Oh, here's one of the hats. This is what the freeform hat that has some sizing in it, and she has formed it into a shape. Oh, that's a sweet shape. Look how cute that is. But it's really just secured. It's not even sized. It's secured with some swing tacks inside of here, where the tucks come up. And for now, I'm going to leave that in hat form, but it may at some point be more useful as a body than as a hat that someone else made. But maybe I'll wear it for the remainder of this stream because I'm fond of it, and it's a good color for me. I like this color. Okay, I'm gonna pull these from the inside. It's like a bunch of gumdrops here, a bunch of flower pots. I'm gonna pull them from the inside. That's a better way to reveal it anyway. And because this one here, I don't know if you can see this black melusine cone. Well, it's not quite a flare. It's more of a hood, and oh, it's really sweet. Quite sleek, nice fur. And this one is one-sided. The whole interior of it is smooth felt. So that's more like what I'm used to seeing in melusine hat bodies. That's the next one. It's just a plain black velour. This is like a Russian doll's matryoshka. Another black velour. So 2 black velours and a black melusine. Definitely will use those. One more, sort of a really dark brown velour hat body. All of these have stickers on the inside that say that they were made in the Czech Republic, which is exciting. Yet another Czech Republic velour body, and this one is more of a mushroom, sort of a gray-brown. You seem to go from dark to light here. Ooh, another black melasine. Maybe I'll put that with the other black melasine. It's also single-sided. So we have 2 black melasines, 2 black velour, a dark brown velour, and a mushroom velour. Oh, and a second mushroom velour, it looks like. No, this one is more of a cool gray. But this is a mushroom velour. So, trying to keep them all together. And then the last thing that we have here is another melasine hat body in a sort of a, like, it's not quite the same as the mushroom colors. It's got some, well, no, it is. It is the same. Same color, just shaggy fur. Yeah, it's kind of a free-form bicorn. That Kim is saying in the chat that it looks, sweetly, she says it looks cute on me, which thank you. But as if it's kind of a free-form bicorn, and it is, or it's more like, it's like a tricorn with a pinch in it, because there's 2 corners to it. There's 3 corners to it, but see there, you can see it really good with the top view of how it pinches out. There's a one corner down here, and then there's this sort of wave at the front of it. You know, the more I wear it, the more I like this hat, and it's really just a lovely manipulation of the hat body with a total soft structure. Very reminiscent of a lot of those hats in the 40s where you just sort of smush it all together and sculpt freeform. So that's more hat bodies. How are we doing for time? Oh, 3:24. Maybe I will get through this whole thing. All right, one more bag, and then we have blocks. And this one seems to be, oh, it's some straw bodies, which I know I said we don't ordinarily make straw hats or use them in the theater, natural straw at least, because actors and the theatrical process is so hard on the hats that we make that if you use natural straw, chances are they will get damaged. Not necessarily in the action of the show, but perhaps in a quick change backstage or being transported back and forth from the dressing room. Like, they go through a lot that you don't even see that they go through. And it's, you know, so it's, at least for big brimmed hats, for like something that would need a capelline, you know, you might as well just build that out of buckram and cover it with straw, or cover it with straw cloth, or cover it with something that looks like straw but is actually fabric. But for these cones, these hoods that they're not even flares, they're really, well, this one might be. This is a really strange hat body. There's 3 hat bodies here, and they all look to be a parasol weave. Let me see if there's any information. It feels like a nicer quality of straw than I'm like it. It feels like a fine. I don't want to say nicer. That's a value judgment, and that's not appropriate when you're talking about a matter of taste. But they feel like they are a finer and softer straw than I usually find with contemporary parasol capellines. And when I'm looking at the buttons, the center of the weave, to see, like, I think you can see it. Well, no, not on that one. It kind of blows out in the light, but maybe this blue one, you'll be able to see how there's a square there for these, there's a square in the button of the hat. That's the motif at the center of the weave when you are working with something that is basically a cone or a hat shape, roughly, before you even start blocking it. And I to sort of gauge the quality of the weave of the hat body, I always look at that button and see how small does it go down. I have some parasols hat bodies at work where if you look at this square, the square is about 2 inches by 2 inches before it starts really turning into a round weave. But I have some at work where the square is more like 4 by 4, 3 by 3, 4 by 4. And I tend to think that there's more, I don't want to say that there's, it's a fine, by which I mean fine like your hair is fine, not like fine like better quality. Well, maybe better quality. I just think that I look at that button and something about the aesthetics of how it is oriented and how it is constructed tells me something, gives me a clue as to what type of care has been taken with Denise Wallace-Briggs. Hey, Denise is here. Denise streams every Friday on Facebook for Fun Friday Millinery. You should check her out. And she has just said in the chat, they seem like they are vintage, and they do seem like they are vintage exactly. I feel like that's one thing, that the smaller that button is, or the more intricately woven it seems to be, I think of that as a sort of a mid-century craftsmanship that we don't really have now. And also, I only have the color blue here to go by, but that color is not so much a contemporary color. It also reminds me of mid-century trends. So exciting. We have, and these are just these three cones are just the 3 smallest hat bodies, which I'm going to keep for Playmakers because, as I said, I tend not to make larger hats with brims and such from natural straw hat bodies because of the wear and tear that our actors and our lengths of theatrical runs, that they get a lot of I don't want to say abuse, but they take a lot of a beating. But these smaller hats where I could do something like this cute little soft sculpture, whatever, or block something that is smaller profile, they are more likely to live through the show. So I'm keeping all of these for Playmakers and for my millinery students. I can't say that's necessarily true about all of the wild colored straws, that capulines that we have in other parts of this donation. But moving on, I want to see how far I can get through this. Ooh, there's a block next. Oh, brim block. Okay, it's a brim block. There's a stamp on the bottom, 22.5. And it says La Mode Hat Company. La Mode Hat Company. Oh, and whoever the kind milliner was that this donation came from her estate, I believe. Whoever she was, it's in some paperwork, I'll find it out. But she put a little post-it here that says back. So you know which way is supposed to be the back. Now, frankly, it seems symmetrical to me. It's got some curvature to it, and it's also got a perimeter of where your crown block is supposed to sit on this. I feel like this is one of those blocks where tension is involved after you block the hat, that you're supposed to pop the brim back up and invert it into a sort of bowl-like brim. A Breton, I think, is it. A Breton is really usually deeper than that, I think. Denise says, nice La Mode. La Mode is one of a few hat block manufacturing companies. It's very exciting that I now own a brim block of theirs. And, ooh, there are a couple of hat frames, little buckram sort of circlet frames in here. Oh, this one has a little, these are like things that you build 80s wedding veils on or medieval crowns and tiaras. There's some, well, this is like, it's how can I describe this? It's like if you've ever bought fringe that has chainette fringe, where the strands of the fringe are sort of chain woven. It's like that, but it's beefier. It's a whole spool of it. It says it's, well, it doesn't say anything. It's a bunch of little numbers that I don't know what they signify. Probably the cost. Ooh, some lifts. So this says 24 inches. This says 23 and a half. And these are great because if your hat block is, you know, however deep it is, and you just want to extend it by, in this case, about a half an inch, then if you have these, then you can just lift it up and block it a little longer. Ooh, there's one more. And there's a clue here. So this one is 23 inches. So I have a 23, a 23 and a half, and a 24, which, great. Those are popular head sizes at my theater. Can't wait to use them. But there's also initials on the back of this. It's AJS. So there's our first clue as to who the milliner is. That is our benefactor here. Ooh. I coveted this in Denise's video stream recently. She was going through different sizings and stiffeners in her theater, in her studio, and she had this bag, just like this bag, a bag of the gelatin sizing in bulk that's sold by Lico, hatsupply.com, and I was like, man, I only have a little tiny container of that stuff. Oh, and she says head size plate. Yes. That is the name for one of these. I've also heard one other name for it that I can't remember right now. But I feel like Mark DeCou, the guy on Etsy who makes all the hat tools, he made a set of these and he called them something else I want to say, but doesn't matter. I'm excited to be the proud owner now of a huge bag of gelatin sizing, water soluble. Yes, very excited to have this. And there's blocking ropes in here, which I won't pull out and show to you because who cares, right? I mean, they're ropes. But there's a puzzle block in here that, here's half of it. Yes, collar and lifter. Those, yes, that is ringing a bell. Check out this puzzle block. Kim agrees. Heard them called lifters, or heard them called collars. So look at this. This is really exciting to me because this is a crown shape that you can't get without a puzzle block like this. And this one's unusual because they usually have a guide, like a protrusion that and then a groove, a slot and a groove, and I can slide them like this and it keeps them sturdy, but that's not present here, so this slides around. But it will be easy for me to amend this so that it can do that. I actually have a graduate student working on the prospect of 3D printing that slider mechanism. And then we can router out a little channel for it here, perhaps. So this one says it's 22 and a half. Really great wood. Lovely wood that this is made of. and I don't have a maker's mark on the bottom at all. It makes me wonder, well, I'm not even going to speculate. It is a lovely shape, and one that we use actually fairly frequently in the theater, and I have historically been in a position to need to make this shape out of buckram and then cover it in fabric. And it's exciting to know that I could now potentially block it. And I'm going to put it over here out of the way. You can just remember that was one of the things in here. Mark makes something that he calls a band block. Yes, Mark DeCou on Etsy. If you're not familiar with Mark DeCou on Etsy, he is a woodworker that has made contemporary copies of a lot of traditional hatting tools, and I own so many of them and love them. And you should really check out his shop. And he makes a set of these band blocks, as Denise has just said in the chat on YouTube. Now, aha! I have, this is exciting, 2 spools of millinery wire. Says 21 gauge, 20 yards. 19 gauge, 20 yards. That's super exciting, and both of these come from, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Lacis, Lacis. I've only ever read the name of this business, Lacis. Please correct me phonetically in the chat if you know a better way to pronounce it. But they reproduce a lot of historical publications, and apparently they sell millinery wire as well. So here we go. Kim says, look like you could block 2 different colors of felt on the 2 sides maybe. Oh, that's an interesting idea, that you could create this hat with a seam down the middle. I like that idea. That's really exciting. And Denise says you could do many historical shapes, and like I'm thinking about like band leader hats, how they sort of flare out like that, or different military hats are shaped like that. Now here, I was thinking of this hat when I said that there are existing hats from the maker, or the woman that all of this came from, and this one. I'm going to have to put this one on too. This one has a label in it. It says AJ Storm. AJS, like was written on our block. Look at this cutie. Such a fan. Now, I love to put everything on every which way. Oh yeah, I think I would wear it like this. This is quite a cute little hat. It's blocked into this shape, and she's put a grosgrain grain in. Milliner AJ Storm. Don't know if AJ Storm is a man or a woman or a gender fluid person, but they have made a really sweet hat here, which I feel like this could go right into our stock at work. Like, I'm inclined to keep it and wear it, but that's selfish of me, and I should probably give it to the theater. So, ooh, there's another block in here. Ooh, this is interesting. So this is a vintage block, and it's got a very flat top here, and can you see that profile? I feel like this is one that you could block it and squish it and get that kepi hat that they wore in the Civil War. This is, ooh, when you look at the profile too, can you see that it's more upright here and then more sloping here at the back? It looks like a simple block, but it's actually, the more that you study the lines that it's carved into, it's really actually quite sophisticated. And what size is it? A size that is not, ooh, I need to take my glasses off so I can maybe see this. 7. Okay, so mentally, hat sizes, I do not have that chart in my mind. It's posted on my wall at the theater. I want to say that a 7 is like a 21 and a half or a 22. But anyway, this is a shape that I'm definitely excited to have for the theater. We will use it. Some grosgrain. Is it millinery grosgrain? Yes. Ooh, millinery grosgrain in a lovely white and red stripe. That's exciting. What am I at for time? Ooh, I'm about to end my stream. Oh. Okay, so this is chenille dot tulle, which, you know, putting a veil on a hat in the theater is so difficult because I have all of these beautiful vintage veiling cards worth of yardage at the theater, but it's so fragile that actors and theatrical needs, it's just not strong enough to withstand a dramatic hat existence. But costume designers love to give actors veils so that they can draw them back off of their face dramatically and so forth. So I'm always actually, like the last time I made visible veiling on a hat where somebody had to unveil themselves, it was tulle that was dyed to match, like, because you can't see that diaphanous vintage stuff from the audience. Like, you have to use something that they can see and that is also sturdy enough that the actor is not going to put their thumb through it every night when they reveal themselves. And so tulle is often a great, for me, I have found tulle is a good compromise because it has enough structure that it catches in the light and the audience can see it, but you can see through it. Designers always want, not always, often want chenille veils with little dots on them because it's glamorous and it's beautiful, and I agree, it is glamorous and it is beautiful. But like vintage chenille veiling or putting chenille onto vintage veiling, like, that's an exercise in frustration. But this, I'm super excited to have this chenille dot tulle because I'm just going to use it as a veil here with this weird glamorous cardinal cap that I have on here. But this is definitely something I could use as a veil, and actors would not mess it up. So very exciting. There's enough of this to do, I don't know, two or three hats. Oh, there's another piece of it. So there's a lot of this. So that's going to make my life much easier in the future. That's my stop your stream alarm. And so the only thing left in here is a blocking frame for this brim block, which basically, I'm not going to take it out because it fits exactly down in the base of the box. And it's not actually that interesting to look at. It's sort of a U shape of wood with two posts, so that, let me see if this brim block has them. Oh, it doesn't. Well, I guess it doesn't have a cutout for the crown block in the middle. It's for some brim blocks that look like donuts where you need a crown block that sort of goes down in them. This blocking frame holds the brim block up, so then you can block your crown and then insert it down in there to block your brim. And it's super useful. I have, it's a variation on a tool called a flange stand, which is this sort of support, but it's a lot more fancily carved. Like, this one is clearly some woodworker that is her friend made it for her, and not very not a lot of finesse. Whereas, to go back to Mark DeCou, who sells on Etsy, he has some beautiful flange stands. I have 3 of his flange stands for my millinery studio at work. Um, and they're much more artfully created than this one that's in here, which I am happy to have it. But I'm not going to pull it out to show it to you because it's the end of my stream. And Denise says the block is so useful. I know. I am so excited about it. Like, I feel like I can just imagine all the things I'm going to, that it's going to be so much easier for me to make now that I own that block. And Kim says, that's gorgeous. Is it synthetic or natural fiber? And I would have to burn a little bit of it to tell, but let me feel it here. It's really strong. Well, that kind of indicates that it might be natural fiber, because I can usually put my thumb through some nylon. Oh, there we go. Well, I would have to go set this on fire, but Kim, I will set it on fire and get an answer for you, and I will post it in the description to this stream's video once it uploads after the stream, so that the rest of you can know too. But Kim, I'll tell you when we have our block party as well, in case you don't check back here to find the answer to this excellent question of whether that chenille veil, chenille tool, is natural fiber. It feels like, honestly, it feels like it could be natural fiber though. But I don't want to hazard a guess. I want to set it on fire and just be sure. So thank you so much for coming to my studio stream today and unboxing my portion, my fifth of my donation with me. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen the photograph of the chain stitching machine. It's an antique stitching machine for spiral straw braid construction and so forth. That was part of this donation, and like I said, there are 4 more boxes just like this one, full of stuff. And the other boxes, there's another whole box of blocks, another box of boxes that are like antique millinery trims and little bits of lace and so forth. And then I'm gonna be late to my 4 o'clock. There's this bouquet of cardboard tubes filled with all different kinds of feathers, which includes this beautiful antique stacked ostrich plume here, very dense, love it. And then several peacock feathers, which will not be coming to the theater with me, not because I myself have the peacock feather superstition that many theater people do have, but because I believe that other people's belief in the peacock feather superstition causes the problems that they are afraid that the peacock feathers will cause. So I don't keep them in my studio, because even though I think they're beautiful and not going to cause disaster, because many other designers and performers think that a peacock feather brings bad luck to a theater, I just don't bother with it. But there are some beautiful feathers here. If you can see this little striped one here, that's so sweet. There was also, it's not here, it was in one of the other boxes, there was an envelope that said dove feathers. Beautiful soft gray feathers, small, not very long. Well, Kim, you are probably going to be the recipient of most of these feathers, because like I was just saying, I'm not going to take the peacocks to work, and it's very difficult to reinforce feathers to such a degree that they can survive the runs of at least the theater that we do, with the performances that we put on. Are often more active than a genuine feather will stand up to. So I have a million ways to make fake feathers that look really naturalistic and great. And these real ones are things that we study them in my millinery class, and we study feather work and so forth, but there's only so many that I need on site. So I might be bringing you a feather present, Kim, when we have our block party. But I have now digressed for far longer than I planned to. And thank you so much for coming to my studio stream today. I will be back next week, I think, and we will probably return to the big pink rabbit head that had been what I was working on last week and the week before. I've ordered some fur for him, so I'm hoping to put the I don't want to say hide, because that makes it sound like he's been dead and skinned. But I want to put the fur onto that rabbit head, and hopefully I'll do that in the next stream. But thanks for coming, and I don't have like a Patreon or anything like that. Oh my God, I've totally forgotten how to, okay, how to stop my stream. It's crazy. I don't have a Patreon or anything like that, but, and obviously I've just received this huge donation. I don't need anything. But I do want to say, you know, if you have any extra, Denise always says this at the end of her streams, and I appreciate it, and I'm trying to adopt this similar kind of altruism. If you have any extra, a food bank is a great place to give the money, rather than to me or my Patreon or my Ko-fi or whatever. I almost forgot. One other thing I did want to say. I am participating in the CostTube Symposium. That is August 19th through 22nd. It's a YouTube based festival where a lot of costume themed YouTube channel hosts are going to be creating specific content to be released that weekend. They're going to be hosting live streamed panels, discussions with costumers. Lots of them are historical costumers who are living history enthusiasts and so forth. But there are also several of us who are theatrical costumers and people with other costume bent. So follow the hashtag COSY 2021 on all platforms, and you'll find out about the programming, the live streams, the premiere video releases, and I think there's also going to be there's one other type of content, and it's I'm spacing on it, but I put it up here to remind me to mention it. The CostTube Symposium is coming, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. I'm going to be providing 2 videos and sitting on one panel, I hope, if it can fit into my schedule. And I'm also hosting an Instagram cocktail party on the Saturday night, which basically means put up a picture of yourself in something fancy. And if you want to put up a picture of yourself with a fancy drink, that's great. Non-alcoholic beverages are welcome as well. Anyway, thanks for coming, and I'll